Hello everyone, my name is Evan and I like to make stop-motion monsters and dinosaurs, and during this video today we'll be finishing off my Godzilla x Kong project, you could say. What will be taking place in this video today is a lot of sculpting, you could say. We'll be adding pounds of plasticine clay to finish off this Godzilla, I do say. I think it's safe to say this Godzilla is about 6 pounds of clay, making him the biggest G-Man in my collection to this day. And while I craft away, we'll be talking about Godzilla's new fighting capabilities, I do say. So, Godzilla, King of the Monsters. This monstrous titan has evolved several times throughout the Monsterverse, as well as in a variety of other franchises. As far as the Monsterverse version of Godzilla goes, we see him at his smallest in Monarch Legacy of Monsters. Set back in the date of 1954, we get a good look at him before he gets bombed by Castle Bravo. The nuclear bomb set off in Bikini Atoll. Godzilla started off with jagged rock-like dorsal plates, stubby yet chunky sauropod-like feet with a bulky build. Then we saw him fight the Mutos in San Francisco, utilizing his atomic breath to gain the upper hand, before, well, executing the kiss of death, decapitating the female. Then swam back to the ocean to rest. He would go on to evolve substantially after defeating the Muto Prime with his nuclear pulse, which meant he had to regrow his dorsal plates, giving us the new, more rounded fins that we see in Godzilla King of the Monsters as well as Godzilla vs. Kong, appearing more muscular and even larger than before. This Godzilla was even more powerful than his previous form. We witness his deadly thermal nuclear pulse that was powerful enough to wipe King Ghidorah off the map. And now going into Godzilla x Kong the New Empire, this monster is set to evolve once again, possibly into his most powerful form yet, transforming into a bigger and meaner design to combat Scar King as well as Shimu, who happens to be known as the First Titan. This form is set to be the most baddest and powerful iteration of the King of the Monsters the world has ever seen, appearing even larger and heavier with barbed dorsal plates and superheated magenta radiation coursing through his veins. We have caught a brief glimpse of his new atomic breath, but what other powers could this Godzilla possess? So now, let's explore Evolved Goji's powerful new capabilities. So first, let's talk about that new skull. With new reinforced armor, Godzilla can now take even more heavier hits than before, which would have previously disorientated him, as seen in his fights with Mechagodzilla and King Kong. Now covered in an array of spikes as well, Godzilla has definitely upgraded his defense capabilities. Most notably, he has grown larger and sharper teeth as well. Conical and like a blade, these teeth can cut through even the toughest of Titan flesh. And with a bite force of 140,000 tons, approximately, it would theoretically be able to pulverize bone. The only reason I'm kind of against this statistic is mainly because I just don't think these kaijus have very strong head structures. I know some people are going to probably be a little bit annoyed by that statement, but the fact of the matter is, if you compare a T-Rex skull to a kaiju skull, there's a big difference. However, I digress. Probably one of the more interesting and new features on this Godzilla is his thagomizers, similar to what you would see on a Stegosaurus. At the end of Godzilla's tail, there is a row of dagger-like spikes that are part of Godzilla's radioactive charge, which means the King of the Monsters will have the capability to swing round, charge his dorsal plates, and blast a superheated pulse on impact. I believe this is being referred to as the Atomic Tail Swipe, which is a pretty cool name, I must admit. It should also be mentioned that obviously with the sharp protrusions on the end of his tail, he'll be able to cut into other Titans' flesh with ease. It should also be recognized how much stronger Godzilla's arms are here. Being bulkier and longer, Godzilla is able to support himself for longer periods of time, and can now walk on all fours to perform attacks like the Atomic Tail Swipe. These will be far more useful in combat in comparison to his far more short and stocky arms from his last evolution. And something that stands out also about this Godzilla's arms are the fact that that he, well, has something new to a MonsterVerse Godzilla design, and that is elbow blades, which I can't help but feel like they got some inspiration from -1 on those. Either way, these sharp sides can charge up with radiation, become superheated, and be fairly effective at both defense as well as melee attacks at close range. For example, when an enemy charges Godzilla, he will be able to simply just swing his arms in front of him and slice through the Titan's armor, which would make them incredibly useful for defensive and offensive purposes. Which means Godzilla is not only proficient in long-range attacks, but close range as well. In addition to his arms, his legs have also been slimmed down, meaning that he is much faster and agile than previous incarnations, which may be demonstrated in Hollow Earth battles, where he may use the tail slide ability to use his weight to stomp down on the enemy Titans, subduing them so he can slash and bite at them. I'm sure a good chunk of my viewers already know where this attack comes from, which happens to be from the Showa era where Godzilla is fighting Megalon. And even Adam Wingard himself has stated that he has drawn a lot of inspiration from this film. So the tail slide ability being used is looking increasingly likely. Possibly the biggest overhaul in this new Godzilla design is obviously those pink dorsal plates, glowing a bright magenta due to the superheated gamma radiation. Apparently, it's been said that these plates are supposed to grow and shed much like deer antlers. And at this stage, I think it's pretty clear to see why. With a new, sharper design, these back spikes are more deadly than ever before, meaning he can utilize his dorsal slice to an even greater effect than ever before, taking the form of barbed thorns. If these plates were jabbed into an opponent monster, they would be extremely difficult to remove. So with a hypothetical scenario with Godzilla being in the Hollow Earth, he can leap into the air, thrust back, and pulverize his opponents with those new dorsal plates, whilst charging them up to superheated levels so he'll be able to use that more deadly atomic slice attack. It's also demonstrated in the trailer that these plates can slice through bridges like they are paper, meaning that these new pink plates are more deadly than ever. However, the main purpose of the plates is to hold and harness radiation, so he can utilize his deadly atomic breath. Appearing a bright pink, not only is this atomic breath hotter, but also more radioactive than ever before, meaning the area of impact will be hazardous to humans for years to come, much like the after effects of an atomic bomb. So if you see a magenta glow in the distance, it's probably best to vacate. This isn't the only ranged ability we'll be seeing in the film, seeing how that new trailer gave us a glimpse at Godzilla's new and improved nuclear pulse, stemming from the same ability as the thermal nuclear pulse in Godzilla King of the Monsters. However, this one is noticeably weaker and doesn't seem to have as much range, closer to the one that he used on the Muto Prime. However, it should be mentioned that it can be used without putting his own life at risk, due to its lower temperature. But it should be mentioned it is still a very deadly attack that can be used more frequently. And one thing that's been noticed is, well, obviously it's the previous evolution of Godzilla that's using this attack, so it's hard to say whether or not evolved Godzilla is still going to use this ability. Although in the trailer we do get a sneak peek of Godzilla glowing a brilliant pink, which may allude to Godzilla being able to use the same abilities as before, but perhaps even more deadly. With what we know so far, evolved Godzilla is set to be the most vicious, brutal, strong, hardened, powerful iteration that the King of the Monsters has ever been. Being able to move faster, hit stronger, bite harder, and blast atomic breath hotter than ever before, he's definitely going to be a formidable opponent against Scar King and Shimu, who are both fighting for the crown of Alpha Titan. But obviously, there's a lot the trailer hasn't shown. These are just some abilities that Godzilla is most likely to use during this upcoming film. And seeing how the Alpha Titan is the king of evolution, he may or may not pull something out of his scaly sleeve that we don't expect. So what new ability would you like to see Godzilla use? Let me know in the comments below. And this concludes the section where we talk about Godzilla's new powers. I'm definitely looking forward to doing some stop-motion animations with these new capabilities. It should be a lot of fun. And as always, if you enjoyed this content, be sure to smash that like button as hard as a kaiju and comment below what you think of the project, share with your friends, and perhaps consider subscribing if you're new. So at this point, I just gotta finish picking this monster's nose, and I will leave you all to the glamour shots. Enjoy! and thanks for sticking around to the very end of the video. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the content, comment below what you think, share it with your friends, and perhaps consider subscribing if you're new. Anyway, that's enough from me. Till next time, take it easy.